So I wanted to make this video on the eve of my surgery of my Pheochromocytoma tumor. It is on my left adrenal gland. It's almost 4 centimeters, and I just kind of wanted to share my story because I know so many of you might be struggling with trying to get a diagnosis or wondering if your symptoms could possibly be this very, very, very rare tumor. So here's my story. So about a year ago, I was driving down the street and I started feeling this really weird, like tingling in the middle of my back. And I thought that's kind of weird. Kind of felt like an adrenaline rush, but it was like pins and needles, tingling feeling going up my back. And I kind of dismissed it. I was on my way to the gym, I think, and I just thought, that was kind of weird. And then it just kind of progressed. I felt it that one time, and then I would feel it more and more often, but it would go not just like up my back a little bit, but it would maybe like go in through my chest area. And from then, I started constantly having heart palpitations, and I just thought, oh, this is not good. I had dealt with this years ago. I had worn a heart monitor before. I had actually been in the hospital before, a really scary situation, and they sent me home after wearing a heart monitor, and they said they ruled it unknown chest pain. But while I was in the hospital at that one time, they said, you have little to zero potassium in your system. I thought that was kind of odd. They never followed up with it. And I said, okay. I went on my way. I started feeling better. I took potassium tablets, and I just kind of went on with my life. So fast forward, 8-9 years later, I started feeling this tingling in my back, and I don't know, it finally went straight into my chest. I started having the heart palpitations, went to my doctor, and he said, you know what? I think you're having panic attacks. I think the stress of the pandemic and having 9 kids, I think it's just kind of getting to you, and I think you're having panic attacks. So he prescribed Prozac and Xanax. I said, okay. So I went home, tried the Prozac, and immediately every symptom that I had just was worse. We're talking, I had shooting pain down both my arms, in my chest. My chest was tight. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My face would go pale. My lips would turn purple. And this would just constantly be going on. And so at nighttime, I would have to take a Xanax to just kind of calm down and lower my heart rate. So I went back to the doctor and said, this stuff is not working. He said, okay, let's put you on something else. So I said, okay. Put me on some other kind of like anti-anxiety med. I tried that. Same thing. It just made every symptom I had worse. But I also was concerned about my heart. I said, I'm just having all of these palpitations. So at that time, he put me on a heart monitor, and the results came back. There was nothing wrong, nothing at all. There were no episodes. I was fine. So that was very frustrating. I said, well, maybe it gets worse around my period, so let's do some hormone testing. We did hormone testing. Then all of a sudden the migraines started happening, and these would come out of nowhere. I would be, in fact, I was sitting in bed laughing with my husband. We were watching a funny video on my phone, and out of nowhere, my head it was just crushing. And I said, take me to the hospital. There's just no medication that's making this feel any better. And we tried everything. The sumatriptan that the doctor had given me, nothing worked. So we ended up going to the ER. They gave me a migraine cocktail, to which that helped, sent me home. I still had my heart monitor on, and a few hours later, as I went back, I was trying to go to sleep that night, my heart went into AFib, and we kind of looked at each other and said, do we go back to the ER? Because the doctor just kind of said, I'm only here to just keep you alive until you can go see your main doctor. Well, when I went there and Matt couldn't come, this new doctor said, let me look at your symptoms. And I said, this is the second time that I've been here tonight. My heart is just racing. It won't stop. I have this headache. My arms are going numb. I'm pale. My lips are purple. I need some answers. And I said, they have tried everything. And he looked at me and he said, they have not tried everything, at least not with me. And I said, I have had a doctor tell me before, maybe there's something rare that's going on with you. I highly doubt it. It's a super, super rare adrenal gland thing. I'm sure it's not you, so we're not going to try that. He said, the ER doctor said, you know what? I'm one step ahead of you. I've already ordered a CT scan because I've noticed that you've had a brain MRI, you've had an angiogram, you've tried everything. He said, I'm going to order it for you. And I said, a CT scan of my abdomen? I wasn't having any abdomen issues, so it kind of seemed weird. So he did. I went in there. They did the contrast. The contrast is very weird. It's warm. It goes through your body. It makes you feel like you're peeing your pants. It's just kind of a weird experience, but I did it. And I don't know. I went back to my room about 30 minutes later. He came back and he said, you're positive. You have a tumor on your left adrenal gland. And that's what it is. It's very, very rare. Pheochromocytoma. I don't know what it is. They call it a pheo. And that was that. And so I finally had a diagnosis. I finally had an answer. But the problem is we did it backwards. So apparently when you are going to be tested for one of these pheos, you're supposed to do a 24-hour urine sample and a plasma sample first, and then you do the CAT scan. Well, we did it backwards. So he admitted me to the hospital. I was in the cardiac unit at Utah Valley. And the nurse said to me, he was a male nurse, he said, I have never in all my years seen a patient with symptoms like yours. So my heart rate could go down to 70s or to the 50s and then spike up to 140 and then come back down, and just all day long, that's what my heart rate is. And there's nothing I can do. So they didn't really know what to do with me. They kept me in the cardiac unit. These episodes were just horrible. I would be sweating. My heart rate would be high and low. My blood pressure would be high and low. And they made an appointment with an endocrinologist. I was discharged from the hospital. We thought that we could control everything at home. My sweet husband loaded me up, took me to an emergency endo appointment. And I wish we could have done telehealth because getting there was hard. And we also did do the urine sample and the plasma sample. That was really hard, but we did it without having too many episodes. The endocrinologist suggested me to immediately get on an alpha blocker. So you cannot have this pheo removed from your body unless you have an alpha blocker and a beta blocker in place for at least, I think they said 2 to 4 weeks. So, of course, when you're having episodes like this, 2 weeks sounds like there's no way. There's just no way I'm going to survive that. So, a sweet friend of ours had a monitoring system. So we brought it home, and the endocrinologist prescribed, I think it's Pheochromocytoma. I'm not really sure. It was $1,800 for one bottle, and we had to have it shipped in, and we had to use GoodRx. Otherwise, it was like $6,000 to $8,000 for one container of it. We started me off at 3 times a day, and that was to block all of the adrenaline and all of the, I think they're catechins, I don't know what they are, anything, whatever the tumor was excreting, because I have an active tumor, whatever it's excreting, the alpha blocker was supposed to be blocking to help with the blood pressure and the heart rate. So I started with 3 a day, and we thought that we could just kind of control these episodes at home. So we did, with my friend who had the big monitor, and we had the blood pressure cuff and the heart, the pulse rate aux, we had the whole thing. And hang on one second. So for the time being, we thought that we could control these episodes that would keep happening. And we did a pretty good job up until one day I ate lunch. My mother-in-law was taking care of me. My children were at home, and I started with a really bad episode. My blood pressure just skyrocketed. My heart rate was so elevated, and I tried everything. I tried calming music. I tried taking some Xanax. Nothing would control this. My husband was racing home on FaceTime. We had him looking at the monitor and trying to basically keep me alive through this episode, and it was terrifying. I finally was able to calm down. I took more of the Pheochromocytoma, I think it's called, but just nothing was helping. It was just, I felt like I was going to die, like this was it. And so that was then. And then we went to bed that night, and I said, honey, I'm having another episode, and this one was like the grand mal of them all. My heart instantly felt like it was pumping out of my chest. My heart rate just, it was up to like 180. My blood pressure was like, I think close to 200 over something. It was just very, very severe. I was kind of out of it. I couldn't really think about what was going on. All I could say was call 911. It's that severe. This isn't stopping. I could feel it just coming in waves. I can feel the adrenaline going through my legs and then filtering through my body. So my husband called 911, and they came, and because of the medication that I was on, and there's really nothing that they could do. So I was kind of stuck. And I felt pretty helpless at that point. So what they did was they took me to the hospital. They admitted me, and the second I was there, that's when they started with the beta blockers. So they had me on Ativan, they had me on the alpha blocker, then they put me on a beta blocker, vitamins, put me on, I think they even gave me some potassium. They tried everything, and it did calm me down. So I was there for 10 days in the hospital while we're waiting for the surgery. You have to be on so much of the alpha blocker and the beta blocker before they'll even consider surgery, because it's just too risky and too dangerous. So now it's almost the day. Tomorrow's the day that mine is coming out. I cannot wait. And since I'm now up to, I take 8 milligrams of the benzaprine, I think that's what it's called. I'm now up to 8 pills a day, plus the beta blocker. I don't even know how many times I take that. I think I take it 4 times. Plus the Ativan for the in-between, because my heart constantly feels like it's racing. My heart rate when I wake up in the morning is 130. Resting heart rate is 100. So they wanted it lower than that before surgery, but that's like the lowest that it can, that's the best I can do. But it's terrifying. So if any of you are feeling like this might be something that you are experiencing, do all that you can to find all the right medical professionals take the tests, ask them, keep prodding them for, you might be the special rare case. And it's a simple blood and urine test. It's really just not that hard. So yeah, keep doing it. I don't know what the recovery is going to be like. I know I'm going to have a huge scar up here, and my procedure is going to be done robotically. So I'll have, I think, 4 or 5 incisions into my stomach, my abdomen, where they will scoop it out and put it in a bag and send it off. 10% of these tumors are cancerous, so a little nervous about that. And there's also a hereditary component to this. So depending on what the results are, I'll of course have my biological children tested so that they never ever have to endure what I've had to go through. As far as symptoms, the symptoms that I have had are vision loss. I did not have weight gain a lot, but I did have some weight gain, but that is one of the symptoms. Headaches, migraines, hair loss, polyuria. There's one it's called poly something, where you're constantly thirsty. I've had that. Abdomen pain, stretch marks, if you've had any like red stretch marks appear. I haven't had those though. Blood pressure spikes, and that's probably the trickiest thing, is that my blood pressure is typically low, but when you have an episode, it skyrockets. And so it's really hard to catch that for a doctor to say, oh, okay, you have a problem. So blood pressure problems, I guess acne, and patches of black hair in odd spots. I haven't had any of that, thankfully, but that's about it. If you have any questions, please comment. I would love to reach out and help anyone that I possibly can who's going through this, because I know it's rare and it's scary, and those episodes hit and you feel like you are going to die. Most people get wrongly diagnosed and the doctors say that they have anxiety. I knew when I started having these symptoms that it was not anxiety. I knew in my heart. And I kept having like this vision over and over again of like, I just need a full body scan. I just need a full body scan. But of course that just seems silly. But in the end, I did have a body scan, and they did, I had an MIBG scan, and the tumor just lit up like a light bulb in every picture. And I can't wait to get it out. So I'd love to do a follow-up video and explain the whole process. Since it's COVID, can't have visitors. I don't even think my husband can be there in the recovery. So far, they have said that I might be in the ICU one day, could be 3 days. Just depends on my blood pressure and how my body reacts to having this thing removed. The surgery is extremely high risk, which is why they need you to have a certain amount of beta blockers in your system and the alpha blockers. So I know if you were just diagnosed and you were told that you have to wait almost a month for your surgery, don't panic. It's true. You're gonna have to wait a really long time. So I am fortunate that I've been in a hospital, but it's not fun. It's not fun sitting here all day with no family, and it's not fun. So this video is super long, I'm sorry, but I will try to do another video and let you know what it feels like on the other side to have this thing removed and out of me for good.